This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
I know that life is ever-changing, and to be the best I can be, I have to accept that change is good. Not one of us ever finishes what we are here for until we leave. And so, therefore, why not make it the best life rather than waste each day out of resentment, anger, or grief? I have fought life so hard since Dean's diagnosis. I could not let go of the happiness I had, and I did not want to accept the changes from losing a husband and a daughter. But there was no foe to battle, and I have been spinning my wheels for years. I got tired of the fight and have made peace with all of my choices in life so far, and accepted that death is a part of life. For me, that was most the battle, and now I can start to look forward to something new. Anitra. Valeria interviews Anitra Marie Simmons. She is the author of When Breath is Stronger Than Tears, a survivor's memoir of trauma, grief, healing, and faith. Anitra Simmons writes a raw, open, and vulnerable account of her journey through what it's like to travel through terminal illness, death, and a spiritual awakening. She gives vision to her readers of her emotions and heartache, and her mission is to bring continued awareness to grief and help others find their way through this painful journey. She shares her path to healing by becoming an artist and writer, and how she embraced spirituality to ease her pain, which led her to mediumship. She currently will be releasing her second memoir, When Breath is Stronger Than Tears, by early 2022, and will follow with an illustrated children's book based on her daughter that passed away from melanoma in 2017. Her art is continuously posted on Instagram and Facebook. Meet Anitra at anitrasimmonsartist.com. Here's the interview with Anitra Marie Simmons.
In your own words, who is Anitra Marie Simmons?
I would have to answer that question, I think, with one word, and that is a survivor. I have experienced a lot of trauma in the last 7-8 years. And through that trauma came healing. And with the healing, I was compelled to share that healing with others to hopefully help other people going through what I did become a little bit easier. And so I think from my being a survivor to helping others to survive is who I am right now.
Right, yeah. And I want to say, I'm sorry for what you went through, going through suffering. And one of my biggest question really, is why do we suffer? Why do we have to go through the pain that we go through throughout the human experience? Is there a purpose to suffering? And what would that be? Like, from your perspective, Anitra, what is the purpose of suffering?
I think that we all experience traumas in our life to some degree to experience the emotional aspect or the growth of our own souls in a human form. If we were our spiritual body, then we would be in a different state of being. And being in this human body, we are experiencing things through the physical mind and body that are much more traumatic. And in doing so, we grow our own souls ability to be empathic towards others, to expand our knowledge of love. And without knowing those lows, we wouldn't really know the highs. So I feel like it's an expansion of our soul.
It makes sense from that perspective that we all learning to evolve into unconditional love. As you have mentioned, actually, the last interview we talked, I remember you saying that. Yeah, that makes sense from that perspective. And then from another perspective, let's say from the one of the goal of all that, if I keep asking, what's the purpose of even reaching that level of spiritual understanding, that everything is love, that we never die? So is that what happens? We then suffer less, but we keep coming back anyway, or we keep seeing this reality as we see it now? Or what do you have in mind when it comes to this understanding?
I think that we have signed up with our contract with this lifetime in this physical life to experience certain things that our individual soul needs. And when we come through and the things that happen to all of us, which in some regards are all connected, because we all experience grief and death and at some point in our lives. But, we all have individual needs of our soul to expand and grow. And the different experiences that we have individually is what our soul needs for our individual need to grow in that direction. And I feel that that's never ending. When we cross over and go back to our spiritual bodies, we always have more lessons to learn and more things to experience. And it never stops. It never ends.
I talked to somebody recently. I don't think I interviewed her, but we were talking, and then she said that she had lost her child. And then she said something interesting. She said, I'm glad it was me instead of my sister, because I think she would not survive this. If this had happened to her, she would not survive. That kind of caught my attention. When it comes to, like you said, we're all unique, so unique journeys and lessons. So her sister perhaps couldn't go through this because it was not really an assignment for her soul. It was her assignment. In a way, I don't like thinking that way, Anitra, that we signed up for these things, for these deep levels of suffering.
I do think that is something that is predestined for us, and our spiritual teams keep us on that path to go through what we need to go through. But it's funny that you said that your friend or this gal that you were talking to had that experience where she felt like her sister couldn't have endured it. I kind of felt that way about my husband. I always wondered if I had passed and he had gone through it, what would have become of him. I don't feel that he would have come out in a better way. I think he would have gone down roads that were not the right ones. And so, I feel that, again, this is all predestined. And the reason that some people, for instance, die from cancers and others, survive through chemo or radiation or whatever it is they're doing, that is their destiny to experience that, maybe give them a wake-up call, send them down a different path, where others, it's their time's up. That's their contract and it's time for them to go home. And it doesn't seem to matter, as far as the odds or there's people that have come back to life from stage 4 cancer and others who have, stage 1 end up dying from it. So it's all I really do feel that is our path that we are destined to go down.
A question that I have for you that came to me is, can we change? Do you believe, speaking about the predestined, let's say, concept of learning lessons here and having almost like a plan already designed, can we change that plan? Do you think it's possible?
Well, we all have free will. So we can make the choices that we make even if they aren't destined in our pre-plan. I absolutely do think that. They may not be, we come here with a loose plan. It's not set in stone that we're going to do this and achieve this and do this. We kind of go down this path and we're meandering. And I believe our spiritual teams try to keep us on that path with signs and opportunities and things that come up to keep us on the path that we intended. But we can absolutely make choices that were never, in the original plan, that can take us down roads that were never meant to be, for sure. I do believe that, yes.
Yes, me too, Anitra. I do. For some reason, I trust that we can, the more open we become to life, the more we are open to learn and kind of end ignorance. And by knowing our true nature, in a sense that who we really are don't ever die, it's infinite, unlimited, and already expanded, then we go back to that space, even in the body going through all the karmic cycles, which we can't stop that. I don't believe we can stop that. But we have that deep understanding that's okay for the body to go through all this, because we don't. The real us. That's really my practices these days. It's based on Vedanta. It's a Hindu philosophy. It's religious, but it's a philosophy too. The more I study that and practice, the more I see that being true. I mean, to me, I know that if everybody analyzes that too, they will find that as to be true, that we are always here. We never went anywhere, never go anywhere. We definitely never die. The body dies, but we're not the body. Or the mind, which is interesting, right? We think that we are the mind a lot of times, that we are a body with the soul in it. But there's something beyond all that.
There's a book I just read, and it's very well known. It was written by a woman called Anita Morjani, Dying to Be Me. You may have read it.
Yes, yep.
I hadn't read. I discovered that book just recently, and I bought it and read it. And her philosophy about, our souls are within our body at all times, but because we are living in a physical body, our soul is there, but it is constrained by the mind, by the physical body. And until you leave your physical body, you can't see like your real spiritual self can see and know everything. And with that thought process, I feel that that's why they say everybody can access their own spiritual, whether it's connecting with spirit or talking to angels or whatever it is. We all have that ability within us. But to have the human experience through a physical body, that has the constraints on it in itself. So I think that the thing that you try to do is to access your soul within your body while still being in a physical, body in itself, like through your mind. If you can get to that state of being in which your soul is normally at when it's not in this physical life, but still be in the physical life, is the ultimate joy of existence at this time and place. So yeah, I do believe that we're all there, and it's just we are constrained by our physical bodies. We can't see, we can only see 3D. And, when you hear so many stories of people who've suffered, near-death experiences or whatever, and they can see 360 degrees and they know all and they feel all and they, all of these things. But we are hindered by our physical bodies to have the experience that we need to have. That we couldn't have otherwise as our ever living existence.
That makes a lot of sense to me, Anitra. I love this, what you said earlier about being able to go back to what you call soul, I call consciousness. It's just a different name, but it's the same thing. It's just the infinite existence. But in the body, being able to realize this now, that we are not only the body, you can say only the body, but we're really not the body. That would be amazing, right? That makes a lot of sense. And that's, I think they call it enlightenment, right? Some call it. That's when you come to that understanding or to that realization, really. It's not an intellectual realization, but this deep understanding of everything is one. There's no separation. So you look at everything and you see light.
Yeah, it does sound corny and sometimes very inaccessible to our human brains, but I feel that when we cross over, we are all connected, and we go into a state of being. It's not like we go to heaven, it's this glorious place and it's somewhere where everybody's happy. And it's a state of being that we always have within us, even here in these physical bodies. We just have to access that state of being, and to access it, you have to find it within yourself. So if you say consciousness or soul, or however you want to talk about it, it's within our own self, and nothing from the exterior, material or relationships or whatever it is you think you need is going to make you find that state of being, but looking within your own self.
It's not really a confinement, a prison thing, but it is like, I think you probably heard about Nelson Mandela, that he was in prison, but he felt free. So it's a matter of attention, isn't it? It's not even a mindset, because we can create so many delusions within the mind, but it's something beyond the mind. It's able to see the mind even. It's almost like I'm free from the mind, the thoughts, the emotions and memories, and the body itself, because I can see them. I can observe them. So who is observing all this? So that one, it's us, that's free. That's freedom itself. That's not even free, it's freedom itself.
Right. But but that's coming from somebody who's enlightened, whereas there's so many people who are not.
Yes.
And they live very confined from their learned behaviors and their environment and how, things where they grew up, and they become locked in that mindset that is a physical manifestation, versus looking within to their own soul to see who they really are. So that's the difference. It can be. So I feel like, yes, you can be confined by your body if you do not look beyond it.
Yes.
And to see who you really are.
Right. If you have trained yourself to only see bodies and minds and thoughts and emotions and memories, then it's easy to just remain in those realms, right? It's very easy, actually, because it's very attractive, right? It's right here, too. It seems so tangible and solid. Yeah, it takes practice going beyond all that. That's so true. It takes commitment. Yeah.
You have to want to look beyond what is tangible in front of your face. And go beyond that to find that what is your own truth. And that's really hard for a lot of people, because a lot of their things, their mind and body is holding on to, are very painful. And so they don't allow themselves to think beyond what it is that they are experiencing in the moment, because it's too hard. It's too painful or scary.
Yes. Wow. That brings me to a question about even the reason why we are having this conversation today, why we agreed to meet and have this episode recorded, is everything that you went through in life, the experiences, the suffering, and then what you did, the meaning that you found behind it all. So it goes back to the beautiful comment you made about wanting to see beyond all this. Does it always take suffering? I probably asked you this question before. That's one question. And then I would love to hear more about, the audience would love to hear about your own experience with suffering and how you transcended suffering to become who you are today.
Yes. So my suffering, I feel, went as deep as you can go without taking your own life. I was very, very depressed for many years, and I struggled to find the reasons to be alive. And I I am still here. My youngest daughter pulled me out of a very dark place at one point, and helped me to see that even though I felt such depression and bleakness, and I had no hope, I was being selfish to the people that were still here that needed me. And that alone, I don't know why, but that thought alone stopped me from going any further with any type of suicide, because I felt I struggled with feeling trapped within this space and time with the grief that I had, and but then also wanting to be here for my grandchildren and my daughter. And for a while, I grappled with resentment of that. You know, why me? Why do I have to have all of these expectations? I just want to be happy. So my experience was to continue to fight and look for reasons to exist. And in that journey, I discovered so much more of the bigger picture of life and the meaning behind my life, and what I needed to keep moving forward, and what gave me purpose. And in doing so, I was exposed to a lot of different types of spirituality. And I feel that we're all exposed to a lot of that. And we kind of resonate with some things and not others. And until you eventually build your own Bible of sorts of life and have your own philosophies and thoughts about things, and you can have some things that resonate with some people and others not so much, but you build your own belief system. And I think that is individual to every person on the planet, that we have to build our own truth and find the reason of what this journey is and what it means, and all with the hope of knowing that life is everlasting, and we are only our physical body dies, that we really don't die. And I think that the biggest takeaway that because I got into mediumship, and the biggest takeaway, my healing really, really started to sink in when I became a medium myself. And when I started connecting with spirits that were not my family, and I never knew these people, and yet I could tell someone all about their grandmother or their brother or their father, and with details of things that I knew that were impossible for me to know. And because I was able to do this, it really gave me that proof inside my soul that we don't die, and that my family was all around me. And through mediumship, I was able to receive many messages from them to keep me on the path and to help me move forward and to let go of that really deep grief that I was holding on to.
How did you discover mediumship, Anitra? That first time, how did that happen?
Well, it was in my first book, I detail the experiences. As soon as my husband died, he started sending me signs immediately that were just indisputable. Lights turning off and on in the room that I was in. That's funny. I was talking about signs and my computer goes off.
Right. Interesting.
All of these signs were happening, yes. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't, because I came from a Catholic background. So I immediately went to a medium right off the, I booked with a medium to help me with it. And from there, I just started going to mediums all the time, because it was like a phone call to my loved ones. And so I started, becoming where it would give me a high almost to go and get those messages from them and confirm again, once again, in a subtle way that they were with me. And it just never was enough. And I think you can become addicted to that type of thing, and it's very expensive. But over time, after writing my books and doing a lot more research, and I started taking classes in mediumship and that type of thing, I was led to a medium near my area. She's out of Puyallup, and I decided to take her mentorship class. And I was shocked because when I took the classes, I discovered that I was already having so many spiritual awakening situations where I was having visions. I was leaving my body and doing astral travel. I was able to do a reading for her fairly quickly. There was just so many things I was doing that I didn't even know were a part of mediumship. I didn't know what was happening to me. I just thought it was me. And when you have things like that happen to you, you're thinking people are going to think you're crazy. And so you don't talk about it. You don't tell anyone what you're going through. So when I started this mentorship plan and started having classes and her teaching me things about connecting in with connecting more in with myself, my emotional state, my energy, that energy connecting with other people's energy, that type of thing, it all clicked and everything came together. And I was able to move into mediumship fairly easily because I had already been doing a lot of it on my own and not even knowing it.
Naturally.
Just because
right.
I would try to constantly connect with my husband and my daughter and my dad and now my mom. My mom passed from dementia, but recently. So it was a way for me to feel that I had one foot in that door. And the things I was doing to keep that foot in the door were things that you do to be a medium. And it just was a natural step in that direction.
Right. Wow. See, that sounds like a calling, doesn't it? It's a soul's calling, which means has been always with you then. You're not able to change that path of knowledge, of spiritual knowledge. It came to you naturally anyway. That's amazing. I wouldn't say that I'm amazed by it because I do see that as a natural thing, a natural phenomenon. It's not really something strange or different. It's just that, as we talked before, a lot of us don't access those channels because we are not open to them, not yet. I think at some point, all of us will find the truth, or the truth will find us anyway, regardless. Even if we wanted to find it or not, it will catch us. So talk to me, Anitra, about the new book that you have written, When Breath is Stronger Than Tears, a survivor's memoir of trauma, grief, healing, and faith. I'd love to know the main intention of writing this book.
I think the main intention started out to be able to share the trauma that I went through with my childhood, the disconnect of the feeling of love that I didn't receive from my parents, and moving into womanhood. My original intent was to show that because I didn't feel the love that I needed to feel as a child, that when I grew up, I made poor choices with men and things in my life that caused me more trauma. And because I was always looking for that unconditional love. And I did receive that love, of course, from my children, but I also received it from my husband, who then, after a certain period of time was diagnosed with glioblastoma and passed away. So to wait that long to find the love that I wanted and yearned for when I was younger, and then to just lose it and have to start, felt like what I felt at the time, like I had to start again with life, threw me down this spiritual path. But I was trying, I think, to share that when we're looking for love, as children, when we don't receive that love as children, and we start looking and making poor choices and putting ourselves, especially women, into situations where we can be hurt, not only mentally but physically, that hopefully that they could see that the love is from within, and that we don't have to necessarily have that external piece of love to feel unconditionally loved, and that life is so much more than that. So the book kind of came upon trying to help young women, but then kind of morphed into me finding myself and finding the love for myself throughout this entire journey, and coming out on the other side by wanting to help others and to show other people kindness and love that were missing it, like I was.
Yeah. You wrote something interesting in your book. You say, I did not question that life, everything, the experiences you went through, the suffering back then, since I knew nothing else. So it's kind of a challenge, because when we are children, we are programmed. I mean, we can't really judge. We don't know the difference between, we don't know what love is, basically. So we just accept whatever is given to us, that they call it love. We just accept that as the truth when it's not. And then now it's just finding the truth as we get older. That, takes so much work, has been my case, in your case too, Anitra. So many people that I talk here. So it takes a lot of effort. And it goes back to the same idea of spirituality or the spiritual path. It's that desire, this really, I would say a desire to learn, to know more, to question everything, almost question our own selves, our ideas of life, ourselves, and our intuition even. At some point, I could not trust even my own intuition. So it's kind of trusting ourselves again, isn't it? The process, it goes back to it, trusting oneself.
Right. Yes, it's I think that's the biggest challenge, and I think that's part of the journey. Is we are raised with certain beliefs and traumas, and our construct of life has our own individual, how we see it, and then when things happen to us that don't make sense, that don't fall into those categories, you start to fight back, and because you want to be happy, your soul knows that you want to be happy, and so you start questioning things, and that's the turning point. I feel that some people ignore, and they continue to live in that lower vibrational state, whereas others look for more meaning and go beyond that, and they learn from their experiences and they grow from them. So every individual is different, but it is I think the growth of the people who look beyond what is right in front of their face and look for answers and meaning are the strongest souls that are fighting for what they know, but they don't know it.
Right. Yes, that's it. Yes, right. It's like, it almost sounds like a playful thing, right? But it's,
yes.
Hopefully it is playful like that. And in a way it is, isn't it, Anitra? Because we are already free. When we go deeper into it, questioning and doing our homework, we'll find out that we are already free of all this, free of all suffering. And then happiness automatically arises, because there's nowhere to go but just be here. So it just arises as happiness. Although freedom, what we are, it's not that it is, it's freedom. It's freedom itself, actually. It's not just giving us that feeling of freedom. It is freedom. It's not just giving us the flavor of happiness, but it is happiness itself. That amazes me, that we don't see that, and we don't ask deeper questions and go deeper into it. But I guess, as you said, I think we just talked earlier, it's not for everyone, perhaps, in this lifetime. So, but we are life is patient. Yeah, another thing that I want to talk to you about is the art. How did you discover art? Or how did art discover you?
Well, I first started practicing art went right after my husband died. The evenings were the hardest for me. That was the time that we spent together, holding hands, watching TV, whatever. And it was just so painful. And so I always loved art, even as a child, and I never had time to do it as I got older. But I started with this process called Zentangle, and it is a type of drawing where it's basically Zen means to meditate, and tangle is a repetitive pattern. So I started drawing these patterns and creating art with flowers and just animals and different things out of these patterns. But one day I decided I wanted to become a real artist in my mind. So I got a book that says how to learn to draw in 30 days. I just started practicing. And then from there, I found online classes that teach you, and I'm always fascinated with people's faces, emotions, experiences. And so I wanted to learn to draw faces. And so I just kept practicing, and I gave myself, I think it was the year 2020 or 2019, that I said I would draw something every single day of the year. And I far exceeded that. I draw almost every day up until even when I started back in 2018. I still draw every single day. Because it calms me. It takes me into a place that I can either be focused on achieving something that I want to create, but it calms my mind, and it takes away any negative things I might be feeling and throws me into the moment of creation, and that gives me joy, and I'm drawn to that all the time. I want to be in that state because I like it.
Right. Oh, who doesn't? I mentioned off record, looking at the art in your book. Again, I want to mention the title of your book again is When Breath is Stronger Than Tears. So looking at those images, the art, I just lost track of time. It was easy to just it's easy for me to do that anyway, all the time. It's deeper in a way. It really stops the conceptual idea of time in our own minds. It's gone, completely gone. So it's a timeless thing that just happens.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
When I'm drawing, if I don't have 3 or 4 hours to complete something, I won't even start because I get so lost in the drawing. I have no idea what time it is, and things get away from me because I'm so into what I'm doing, and I do lose track of all time while I'm drawing or painting.
It's really a meditative also practice, right, Anitra? That's what it is.
Yeah, it is. It takes you out of your body, and you're working from the soul, which there is no time in our soul bodies. Their time doesn't exist. So maybe that's why you feel that way, because when we do meditate or are involved in something where it's coming from our soul, we kind of leave our body in a way while we're doing it. And then there is no time. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you're planning to write a third book. That's a children's book. That sounds wonderful to me. That's even more in a way. If there's more soulful thing to do, that will be a children's book, right? That's about your daughter.
Yes, I wanted to write. She was such a unique individual. She had so many experiences that were just crazy, and we used to sit and talk about those things and laugh when she was still here. And so I thought I would do almost like one of those little Mrs. Beasley books, like where she has these little things happen. I wanted to write a children's book and base it on her life and tell some stories about her. And that's kind of I want to write and illustrate the book. And so that's my goal. But I wanted to also have some sort of message to it. And I haven't figured that out. So I have, this book, When Breath is Stronger Than Tears, was just released this last year. And I've decided to take a break, and I've been doing more mentorship programs with mediumship and just doing more readings and that type of thing. But I definitely want to come back and do this book about my daughter, Tia. And, it'll be like my love letter to her legacy and to her children.
Right. Oh my God. I love the
Yeah.
name. I love her name. When I saw the name, I had a smile on my face.
Yeah. She's beautiful. She was a beautiful girl, but her soul was beautiful. And she always was very kind and made people laugh. And she was just this funny little thing. And I just loved her to death.
Oh my God. You got to write this book and let me know. I would love to interview you again.
For sure. I will.
It's a very soulful one. I mean, to the core. Another question that came to me is, are you planning to give mediumship classes to teach other people how to become mediums or see beyond this reality?
I offer mentorship programs on my website at AnitraMarieSimmons.com or AnitraSimmons.com. I think it's AnitraSimmons.com. There's a whole page on all of the spiritual stuff. And then there's, of course, my art, and then my books, and all that is on my website. And so if you go to my website, you'll see the books and everything there. That you can sign up for mentorship classes, anything. Here it is. It's AnitraSimmonsArtist.com. There's a page that you can go and read all about my experiences, and then it talks about mentorships that I offer. And I have readings on there, and I took those off. I'm offering mentorships right now, but I still do readings. So if somebody was interested, they could always just contact me through the website.
Wonderful to know. I'll have the link on your podcast profile, Anitra. So AnitraSimmonsArtist.com, but I'll have the clickable link there too.
Oh, great.
Thank you so much for your presence. I love it's the energy, it's the intention, it's this beautiful perfume of the soul. That's what it is, really. It's just here. So thank you for being open to all that, Anitra, for being open to go deeper. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I loved spending time with you.
Before we say goodbye for today, I have a few more questions, the ending questions. Would you like to add anything that you left unsaid or read a passage in your book?
Oh, gosh. I think that if I was going to leave the listeners with something, I think it would be to remember to find your true soul within when you're feeling unhappiness in your life, whether it's stress from work or relationships or financial. Remember that the happiness doesn't come from anything external, only from within inside you. And if you can find that wonderful state of being within yourself, then you'll probably go far.
That's a beautiful message and reminder for all of us. We tend to go after things that gives us pleasure, but it's temporary. And it's just small pieces, right? It's not fulfilling in a sense of kind of embracing everything, all parts of us. It's just very fleeting, the whole experience. It's just an experience and it's passing. Right. Yeah, that's a beautiful message. Another question, let me ask you, I have two questions for you that I want to ask. I wanted to ask in the beginning of the interview, so I'll go back. Yeah, let me ask you this one, Anitra. I mean, you probably said everything already, but maybe not, who knows? If there is one purpose to the human experience, only one purpose, what would that be?
To grow your capacity to love and love and compassion to others. and
Yeah.
for yourself.
Would that be the same as the goal to spirituality? Would you go back to the same message, the same answer? If I ask you, what is the goal of spirituality? What would you say?
I think that spirituality is a way to find your own soul, to experience that bridge between human construct and our spiritual self, and it it's a journey that you're probably meant to take in this physical life, and it's probably something that you need to learn. And I feel like that's a pathway to enlightenment. And from enlightenment, we get more love for ourselves and others, because it all comes back to love and connection with others. That's really the bottom line of everything, is connection and love.
Yes, which is one and the same, right? In a way, if we are connected, then love arises, then love is there.
Right.
And I have to ask you this last question. What are some of the misconceptions about grief?
I think the biggest misconception that I experienced was that people thought I should just get over it in a period of time. And grief is a state of being. It's not something that you ever get over. It is something you learn to live with. And the people who are around you that don't understand true grief, when they make comments or judge you for the way that you're handling it, then that's something you need to learn to let go, because grief is a very individualistic experience, and it can take years or it can take months. The stronger the love, the deeper the grief. And if you're experiencing that deep, deep grief, then you're more than likely on your pathway to finding more meaning. Because when we are in that deep grief state, we lose ourselves, and we lose the meaning of life. And so you're almost compelled or forced to figure things out to survive in this physical life now. And that's probably your journey, one of the reasons why you're here. But grief is not something that anyone should ever judge someone else for. I think it's the biggest thing I can comment on.
Yes. Yes, I have heard that before. Although I never went through grief, so I don't know what that is really. But my husband has, and I see the way he still responds when we talk about his sister who died young. Yeah, sadness arises, and he changed. It's kind of, you changed forever, right, Anitra? That's what it is. Grief. That experience changed you.
It totally did. I am not the same person that I was 5 years ago. Not even close. I'm a completely different person now.
And that can be, as you said, it can be in a meaningful way, in that transformational, incredible way, especially in the beginning, as you mentioned. It can be in a painful way, which it comes in the form of sadness, of depression.
Right.
I would hope it would not get to depression, because depression seems a little bit deeper. It's almost like pain that has become suffering. That's what it sounds to me.
It is. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why, people who haven't experienced it can't empathize, because it's such a visceral pain, even though it's intangible, that others can't understand that because they can't see it, touch it, feel it. They don't, but it's there, and it is a pain. And for me, it was physical and mental. And it was something I could not describe or share with someone who hadn't experienced it. And so, that's part of, I think, my journey was to experience that, but then try to help other people with that same type of grief, learn that their loved one was still close by. They could still talk to them. It was just different now. They just weren't in their corporal body, they were now, energy, just a different form, I guess. And once you can truly believe in that, then it eases the grief to know that, your loved one is really still there. They can hear you. You can talk to them. They just aren't in a physical form. And just knowing that eased my grief. But you have to go down a long path. Some people have to go down a long path to truly believe that. And they have to want they have to want to understand and of why things happen, why they happen when they do.
Right. They need to be open to it and to see that beauty that's left behind, that was left, right, from that person.
Right.
And that's the movie that I talked to you earlier, Collateral Beauty. It's about the beauty that was left, being able to see that beauty still.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it. I may have seen it. Maybe I just don't remember the name.
Yeah, you probably have seen it, right? Because you said, that's familiar. So thank you so much. I love what you said, too, about the more we love, or the deeper we love, the deeper we grieve. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yes.
I've never been through it, but that resonates true.
That's a huge lesson, because somebody who's suffering from, say, the grief of their pet versus someone who lost a child, you would say, oh, that's not even comparable. But you can't judge that way. That person who loved their pet very deeply. So there is no grief that's better or bigger than other grief. It's all suffering. And that was something I had to learn as well, because I would get angry in the beginning when people would say, oh, I lost my father, and it's just been so hard. I can't function, when I'm thinking I lost a husband and a child. And, and I had to learn the hard way that my grief was not any better than their grief or any or their suffering or whatever. It's all one and the same. And those are the lessons that I had to learn through the process, to empathize and help others.
Right.
So,
because love is love, right, Anitra?
Love is love.
Yeah.
Loss is loss, and love is love. So it's all, each person experiences their own thing, and it's not that one person's experience is not any harder or worse or better than another's.
Thank you so much. That's, to me, timeless wisdom. This is soul wisdom, consciousness wisdom. I live for this for some reason. Who knows why? Yeah. Thank you so much again, Anitra, for your presence today. We'll talk soon. We'll be in touch again. Bye for now, my dear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Anitra Marie Simmons and her work, please visit AnitraSimmonsArtist.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.